Testing. It's quite echoey in here. So I think you're just gonna have to excuse the mess everywhere. The hair is long. It looks like I am in my grandma's sitting room. I am not. This is my new studio. It's just needs a lot of work. Today we are talking about Rolex. I have got hands-on with, I think, all of the new 2021 releases, but they're basically the ones that looked cool. They had all of these watches laid out and got to just pick and choose which ones I got to check out. And that's literally what I've done. Welcome back to Bark and Jack. I'm Adrian. You're going to have to excuse the microphone right here. I do try to keep the microphone out of shots, but I have literally just moved in here, as I've said, and there's no acoustic treatment going on. It's not a long echo, but it's quite an abrupt, harsh echo. So that's why the microphone's here, just to try and destroy the echo. Anyway, we are going to check out the new Rolex 2021 pieces, and also there's some obvious choices of things that I played with, but then some not so obvious choices. And I found some things out about myself. Playing around with these watches, I like bling. There's a bit of me that likes bling. We're going to start off with quite an obvious choice. This is the new Rolex Explorer 2, the 216,570. I got hands-on with both the black and the white dial. The white dial is the one that I'm going to be buying, but both of them have had tiny upgrades, but they make quite big changes to the overall feel of the watches. For example, the black dial now has a gloss dial as opposed to a matte black dial, and this gloss dial gives it some extra depth, but also it looks like the case has changed, and this is a massive thing for me because I disliked the previous case. I thought it was quite it just felt quite chunky, quite clumsy. It was very, very deep, a very slab-sided case similar to the Black Bay range. But now it looks like they've thinned the case out, both depth-wise, but also around the lugs. The lugs are ever so slightly thinner, in a similar vein to the new Submariners, and the bracelet is ever so slightly wider at 21 millimeters. So the changes are tiny, but I think it makes for a much more wearable piece and just a generally better looking watch. It'd be no surprise to people who watch the channel that I tried out the Explorer again. I did a whole video on this watch. I'll put a link in the description and a little tag up here. This watch is superb. It's a brilliant addition. It's a brilliant next chapter for the Explorer range. I love the fact that they brought it back down to 36 rather than the 39 millimeters. I feel like the changes that they've made have made this watch a more refined watch. This watch does wear small. It is a small watch. 36 millimeters is tiny, especially compared to something like the 42 millimeters, which is on the Explorer 2. But I don't sit in the camp that sees watch size to determine whether a watch is feminine or masculine. The Golf, the VW Golf, for example, is a small car, certainly compared to something like a Defender. They are comparably different size of cars, but that doesn't mean that the Golf is a feminine car. It's just a smaller compact product. That's exactly how I see the Explorer. Moving away from the norm, moving away from watches that I usually gravitate to, the next watch is a Daytona in Everose gold with a meteorite dial. If you break up everything within that title, the Daytona, I think it's a massively overrated watch. It's a watch that a lot of people love and it gets a lot of hype. For me, I just feel it's quite a sterile watch. That's just how I perceive that watch. Meteorite dials, I do not care for meteorite dials. I feel like it's a bit of I just don't care. If it was a meteorite, that would be cool. If you gave me a rock that was the meteorite, awesome, love that. I'd have that as a cool paperweight on my desk. But in a dial, I just kind of think, no, put it back in the rock and just keep it there. And then rose gold. I prefer yellow gold. Put all of those things together, this watch is just stunning. This watch was the one that made me go wow when I tried it on. It was a watch that made me sit there and think, shit, this looks cool. This just feels and looks brilliant. More so than the Explorer 2, which is the watch that I feel is more me. So it was a weird kind of realization. I don't have the 35,100 pounds that this thing. I have the 100 pounds. I can do that part of this, but the 35 grand, I think, I'd get in trouble for that, but it is nice. This is exactly the same watch, just with a couple of changes. This is obviously in white gold and has an Oyster Flex bracelet on it, but I'd still go for the all Everose gold. That's the one. Next up, we have the DateJust 36mm with the palm dial. This is, I understand this watch. I get it. It's just not me. I love the DateJust range. I love the OP range. I love that sector of Rolex. I think is, I want to say it's underrated. It's underrated when it comes to the appreciation of the watchmaking that goes into it, the technology that is inside this movement. The execution of the movement is phenomenal. I feel like the overrated part comes from the fashion side of this watch, along with the other OP range. They are stunning. I completely understand why people like them, but I think that side, the color, the hype around all of that, overshadows what great value this watch is. £5,000 for this level of watchmaking that's inside this watch, I think is brilliant compared to other watches that are on the market. This craps on a lot of things. It's just a shame that the hype kind of overshadows this stuff. The dial, I understand, it's a cool dial. It's an interesting dial. I can see why people like it. I can see why this watch is popular. My personal view of it is it just does nothing for me. The next two watches are interesting because essentially they're the same thing, but executed slightly differently, simply by the change of color. 36mm DateJust two-tone on the Jubilee bracelet with the fluted motif dial. The DateJust 36mm is a classic watch. On the Jubilee bracelet as a two-tone is a classic Rolex product. This dial pattern I don't think fits within this. I understand why they did it. It's trying to be clever. It's like Vacheron Constantin using that Maltese cross on literally everything. So I can kind of see how this has come about. I just don't think that this fits together. You've got this highly technical, or what looks like a highly technical dial, along with a very traditional, very classic looking Rolex design. But then flip it into the other colors where you have white gold and steel, and then you have the dark blue fluted pattern dial. This works incredibly well. I love this layout. I would swap the bracelet out to be the Jubilee bracelet because I feel like DateJust should be on Jubilee. But regardless, this dial in blue I think works perfectly. The next one is an odd one. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's a Day Date 40, a sizable watch with a diamond bezel. And I'm not even going to try. Actually, let's get Siri to tell me how this is supposed to be said.
Ease and Kissel.
Ease and Kissel. I do not trust you, Siri. This is the Day Date 40 in Everose gold with the diamond bezel and the Ease and Kissel. It's not that. With this stone dial. Now, this is actual stone. It's actually part of the quartz crystal family. And that means that every single dial is going to be completely unique, in exactly the same vein as the meteorite dial. I do love the pattern that is created within this stone. It's these veins, it kind of gives, it has this really deep, rich, very classy looking marbling effect. And that's, I think that works very well. The diamonds are a bit much for me. Put a fluted bezel on this with that dial, I think that would be a winning combination. The last watch is this one. This isn't a new watch. I just really like it. This is Logan Paul's watch. This is the Platinum Day Date 40. And what I learnt from this visit is the reason this doesn't come with a fluted bezel, which I think it should do. I feel like that is the Day Date look, the DateJust look. The reason it doesn't come with a fluted bezel is because this is all platinum, and platinum can't be carved. It's a harder metal than gold, and so it can't be carved in the same way. You can't cut out that fluted design. It would have to be machined cut or milled out, which just doesn't create the same effect, which is quite interesting. I didn't know that about platinum. I love this combination, and that dial color is absolutely incredible. When I spoke about the Daytona not being something that I feel massively fondly for, the Platinum Daytona with this dial is insanely cool. There's one around as well with Arabic numerals. That is just, that's awesome. It is really weird getting hands-on with watches that don't have movements inside, because as I mentioned in a previous video, I feel like the movement it's the character of the watch. That's its purpose. It's like getting into a car that doesn't have an engine. But equally, if the watch did have a movement in, my comment would now then be, oh, they've created these press pieces, surely they should just make them without movements so that then people can just actually buy these watches. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Which one is your favorite out of all of these? And do you like the changes that they've made, particularly around the sports watches? And if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. I should probably do a plug. If you want watch straps, watch accessories, jump over to barkandjack.com. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like the stylus video, hit the subscribe button down there and that little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Did I say everything? Instagram. Give me a follow on Instagram at barkandjack. That is everything. Take care.